In November 1971, Jimmy Buffett had nothing. Nashville had not worked. His marriage was ending. The record industry did not understand what he was making or why. He had recorded 2 albums. One sold 324 copies. He was not between opportunities. He was out of them. And then a friend showed up. Not with a record deal. Not with money or connections or a plan. With a 1947 Packard sedan and a road heading south. Jerry Jeff Walker said, "Come with me." And everything that came after began with those 3 words. This is Legacy Latitude. The Packard pulled into Key West in November 1971. It was the end of the road, literally. US 1 terminates there, 100 miles from the Florida mainland, closer to Cuba than to Miami. An island of treasure divers and pot smugglers, shrimpers and riders, bartenders who knew everyone's secrets and kept most of them. Jerry Jeff walked Jimmy straight to the chart room bar at the Pier House Motel. It was not much to look at. A converted hotel room with a mahogany bar, dim lighting, dollar bills pinned to the ceiling, and a bartender named Tom Corcoran who poured Jimmy his first beer on the house. Jimmy looked around at the room, and he did not leave. Not that night, not that year, not for the better part of a decade. He moved to Key West in the spring of 1972 and began playing wherever anyone would have him. The Chart Room, Crazy Ophelia's Cafe, Howie's Lounge, for drinks, for tips, for whoever happened to be sitting on a bar stool that night. He was not building a career strategy, he was living a life. And that is where this story gets interesting. The Chart Room was not a stage, it was a bar stool, a mahogany bar. A room full of people who had ended up at the end of the road for reasons they did not always talk about. There was Phil Clark, the bartender whose life read like something out of a novel nobody would believe. Caribbean adventures, smuggling runs, schemes that walked the line between brilliant and catastrophic. Phil had stories the way some people have furniture. Everywhere you looked, another one. Jimmy listened. There was Tom Corcoran, who poured drinks and took photographs and eventually wrote novels set on the same island where he had welcomed a broke songwriter with a free beer. Tom and Jimmy would later share songwriting credits. The people around Buffett were not background characters in his story. They were the story. This is the part that most people miss when they talk about how Jimmy Buffett built what he built. They focus on the music, on the parrot heads, on the Margaritaville empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They look at the result and assume there was a strategy behind it. There was not a strategy. There was a man paying attention. Paying attention to Phil Clark's stories until one of them became widely attributed as the inspiration for A Pirate Looks at 40. Paying attention to the island around him until its characters and rhythms and unhurried way of moving through the world became the architecture of every song he wrote. He did not manufacture a sound. He listened for one, and he found it in the people sitting next to him. And here's what made all of that possible. Not talent alone, not timing, not luck. One person who showed up at the right moment and pointed in a direction Jimmy could not see from where he was standing. Jerry Jeff Walker did not give Buffett a career. He gave him a location, a community, a room full of people worth paying attention to. And what Jimmy built from that, the songs, the voice, the world that millions of people eventually found their way into, came directly from the people he met in that room. The stories he heard, the lives he honored by listening closely enough to turn them into something that outlasted all of them. Phil Clark did not know he would become a song. Tom Corcoran did not know he would become a collaborator and a friend whose photographs would appear on album covers seen by millions. The people who sat on those bar stools at the chart room did not know they were the first parrot heads. They were just showing up, living their lives, telling their stories, and Jimmy was paying attention. That is the thing nobody tells you about building something that lasts. It is never built alone. The people around you, the ones who show up before anyone else does, the ones who tell you their stories without knowing you are listening, the ones who hand you a free beer at the end of the road, those people are not supporting characters. They are the material. And the question is not whether those people exist in your life. They do. The question is whether you are paying attention. Jimmy Buffett is not here because of Margaritaville. He is here because of a friend who showed up when the road ran out. And because of what he did with that, the attention he paid, the people he honored, the life he chose to live fully in the place where he finally belonged. The Anatomy of a Great Leader continues next week. The second quality has nothing to do with authority, and everything to do with what you do with the people around you. Jerry Jeff Walker, that one friend, the one who cared enough about his friend to say, "Want to go for a drive?" That is all it took. And in Key West, Jimmy Buffett found his latitude. Not because he was discovered, not because the industry finally understood him, because he stopped trying to be what the world wanted and started paying attention to the world around him. The bartenders and the smugglers and the treasure divers and the writers. The stories nobody else was listening to. He stayed. Not because he had to, because he had found the place and the people where he was most fully himself. And the work that came from that, the songs, the community, the life, outlasted everything Nashville told him he could never build. Here is what I want to leave you with. Somewhere in your life there is a Jerry Jeff Walker, someone who showed up when the road ran out, someone who pointed south when you could not see the way forward yourself, someone who handed you a free beer and made you feel like you belonged somewhere before you had earned the right to belong there. And somewhere in your life, there is someone waiting for you to be that person for them. The question is not whether you have been given that gift. You have. The question is whether you are giving it. Sit with that. I will see you in the next one. New episodes every week on YouTube and Spotify. Find us at Legacy Latitude.